Hey guys, Akhtar Khan, back in the office, back in London. And in this video, I want to share with you a really powerful case study from one of our Academy members who's actually gone out and done an acquisition, no money down. But the unusual thing and unique thing about this acquisition, it's a property portfolio held in a limited company, and she's done this no money down. So what I want you guys to do is to stay through to the very, very end, because we're going to jump through to an interview in a minute with Maura that's going to explain exactly how she did it, what she did, and how it all worked. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the founder of the Reaching Excellence Wealth Academy. I'm also the author, if I can get my words out, of the Code of Reaching Excellence, and the co-author of Play the Game. Now, it's my personal mission to help every man, every woman to be able to build wealth and live their dream life, because life is precious and life is not a dress rehearsal. So you might be wondering, why am I shooting this video? Well, when I first got into doing M&A deals, I transitioned out from being in property. I was in property for a long time. And what I discovered was that there was this very unique opportunity to find what I think is a bit of a gray area, which is property portfolios held in limited companies. Now, there's a bit of a problem here, but also an opportunity, which is if you're selling a property portfolio that's held in a limited company, you can't quite sell it through an estate agent or the normal channels, because although it's property, what you're really selling is a company. And usually these portfolios have got a number of properties in them. So they can't be sold through a typical kind of channel, which is like, estate agents, Rightmove and so forth. But if they get put through a business broker, business brokers don't really know how to sell property portfolios. So if you know what you're doing and how to find these deals and how to structure these deals, you can do these deals pretty much no money down, which is what our client Maura did. So let's go to that video right now, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, Maura, thank you so much for taking the time out to come and do this interview. So you've just completed on a property portfolio acquisition that was held in a limited company, which is quite an unusual thing because not many people understand the nature of these types of deals. They're a little bit rare, but I think they're a golden opportunity. So you've managed to buy this company that owns some property, which is quite close to where you are. And the way you've structured this deal is that it's going to be pretty much a no money left in deal or no money down deal. And you're going to be left with the properties and cash flow, and also a sensible equity as well. So let's talk about this and talk about how you did it, how you found it, et cetera, et cetera. Now, before we do that, for those people who are watching this, you've been in the academy for a little while now, haven't you? It was probably what, 2-3 years ago you came and joined?
Yeah.
So I remember at the time we had a mastermind that we were running, and I was teaching a lot of property stuff. And it was at that point I introduced the mastermind into buying businesses. And partly for two reasons. I wanted to help people to understand the concept of buying businesses and how to structure those types of deals. But also sometimes businesses have got commercial property with them. And I remember at the time, or do you remember at the time, your reaction to that mastermind meet?
Yeah, I said, why is he teaching me about buying businesses? I don't want to buy a bloody business. I'm doing property.
But great. And it's great. I'm really glad we could have a bit of fun with this, because it wasn't about necessarily buying a business, but it was about structuring the deal in the right way. And as I mentioned, I think there's a wonderful opportunity, because even myself and my business partner, Elliot, as you know, we've been looking at portfolios. Now, there's a real beautiful opportunity here because, and your deal and this deal that you've just done demonstrates it. When people have got property portfolios that are held in limited companies, they don't tend to put them on Rightmove or Zoopla, the normal channels, because they're not selling the individual property, they're selling the company. So what happens is those landlords that are going to sell those companies don't put them on Zoopla. They can't sell them through estate agents because it's very difficult. Estate agents don't understand, and not many people want to buy the entire portfolio. So what they then end up doing is listing it with a business broker. Now, business brokers aren't brilliant, in my opinion, and I'm being really polite here. I've had some shocking business brokers. So even with businesses, half the time, the business brokers that I've come across don't know what they're doing. They don't even know how to list businesses sometimes. They list them very inaccurately. That's the majority of them. There are a few exceptions to that, but it's even worse because they don't always know how to list a property portfolio held in a company. They don't quite understand the perspective of what someone needs to see. So tell us about how you found this deal first off, because that's going to be really interesting. This was right on your doorstep, wasn't it?
Yeah. So after your session, and I kept going, still not for me, but let me have a look at what I can find on the business selling side. And I typed in property, and then I found that there was, as you say, some portfolios, limited companies, or people that have properties. So I remember seeing one particular one, and I kept looking at it, going away, coming back, and I'm still going, it's not for me, buying a business. And I remember saying, well, hang on a minute, I have a big interest in short leases, as you know. Yeah. And with that, what attracted me to the portfolio was there was 2 flats in there with 2 short leases. Anyway, this had been up for sale for about 2 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And what had happened was I contacted them, and I was still thinking, there's no way I'm going to be able to buy 3 properties at once. But hang on, I bought 1 and 2 and they're separate. Maybe I can do something like this. So I remember contacting the broker, having a chat with them, knew that it'd been online. And as I say, what attracted me was it was a short lease. So they had it advertised up for sale. And I contacted the vendor, went and had a look. Actually, I didn't. I'm lying. I didn't even go and have a look at that point. I just did the figures and went, well, I know the area because it's literally 5-minute drive away from where I live. So I started then looking into the details of it all. I contacted them, asked them about the short leases. And because the person had had the property up for sale for so long and no one had any interest, they'd actually sorted out the short leases themselves while they were trying to sell the property. So obviously I got talking to the vendor, went and met her and started to build up a rapport with her. And it turned out that her grandparents lived next door.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know them. This was before my time, but obviously it broke the ice because we got talking. She had other people interested, but she'd felt that the other people interested were going to be buying them to carve them up and sell them off separately, which is not what I intend to do. I like to keep everything. I'm a bit of a property hoarder, as you know.
Yeah, you like to buy and hold.
Yeah, I like to keep buying. I don't like to sell anything, and I haven't yet. So then what happened was I thought I'd put in a cheeky offer, and I didn't think that and at the time she had it, because she'd had it up for so long, obviously the market had actually increased. And because she'd sorted out the leases, the values had increased. But she had it up, I think it was for about 890 or something like that she had it up for. But anyway, I went in then below market value and I thought, right, let me knock off about 25%, put in a cheeky offer and see how I go. And when I said it to her, she was like, oh, I was kind of thinking about that. And I was like, what? I didn't actually believe that she would accept 25% below market value of what it was up for. And obviously her predicament was it was a portfolio that she wanted to retire and she didn't want it. So it was a problem for her.
That's right. From memory, it was passed on to her, wasn't it? It was the son had it, but prior to that, the late husband had it. Yeah.
So it was kind of like, and it was always going to be her pension, as she said. So she had no interest in property. So as I say, I put in my offer below market value, didn't think that I'd have a hope in hell, and she agreed it. So that was the sort of first stages of it. But the main thing was that I'd built up the rapport and I kept in contact, and because I knew she had no interest in property, I was like, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought? And then I kind of rang her back and said, look, even if you don't go with me, make sure you get a solicitor that understands businesses, understands property, just so that from what she was telling me that other people were offering her, it kind of like she might have got.
Say how it's stitched.
Yeah, stitched up.
And again, I mean, I remember the time, the conversations that we were having around it, because we obviously integrity is one of our values, and obviously inside the academy, whether you're dealing with distressed people or distressed businesses, we always want to make sure we create a win-win. And one of my personal beliefs is leave people in a better place than when you found them. So of course you started to see there were some offers and proposals that she had that would have been detrimental to her. So you went back and you kind of gave what's called best friend advice. The other thing from memory was that the brokers didn't really know how to do this transaction. So like there was a whole load of confusion, and we ended up having a conversation. I said, right, someone's got to take
Take
control of this.
control. That's
Yeah,
what you said to me at the time. Take control.
Take control and lead. And this was one of the problems, because sometimes the broker doesn't know how to do the deal. The seller thinks, oh, it's property, but actually it's not the property that's being sold, it's the company. So we ended up having a conversation, got you sorted out. You took control of everything, told everyone who was doing what, and then you got everything into legals, which was great. So I know it took you a little while to get through legals, but then you completed on it. But let's just talk about the numbers and how you did this deal. So you say you got it at 25% under market value, which was brilliant, but the vendor was happy with that price because that's what they thought it was worth anyway. During the time it'd been on the market, there was an increase in sort of capital appreciation, the market value of the portfolio. And just tell us about what you actually paid for it, how you funded that acquisition or the deposit, and then, once you refinance, because I think you're still in the process of refinancing, what the numbers are going to be and what your end equity is going to be in the deal.
Okay, so we ended up buying it for 582. It's 2 flats and a house, as you know.
So you got 3 units.
The beauty of that is when you're paying your stamp duty, you only pay 0.5% sort of stamp duty instead of 3% that you would have paid if you were buying 3 separate individual properties. So you're classed then as a property trader. As I said, we bought it for 582. We haven't done any work or anything really. Well, we put in a new carpet and bits and pieces, but very minimal. The funding, because obviously I needed about 90 grand I needed, which I borrowed from an investor.
Amazing. Love it.
And a private investor who lent me 100 grand. So I had to put in about 90 because I had to pay stamp duties, etc., etc. And at the end of this deal, we're looking at about 890, 900 roughly, I'm saying, just, because it's all still going through the valuations at the moment.
Right.
But we are looking at the end result of having the equity in the property and pulling out about 100 grand, 80 to 100 grand.
Right. So you're going to pull out the initial deposit money that was put in. So you're going to use that to pay back the investor. Okay. Then you're going to have equity. What sort of equity will you have in the deal? So about 200K ish. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. So you got 200K, and then you've got the monthly cash flow from those 3 properties. What's that going to come to roughly? Roughly
coming in about £3,000 a month. Cash flow, once we pay all the mortgages, we're looking at about £1.5 grand, I suppose, a month.
So there you go. So you've got this deal that you've bought, which was on the market for 2 years because most people didn't know how to structure this type of deal. Okay, you didn't have to pay the deposit because you borrowed it from an investor. You're refinancing and paying the investor back. Plus, you've got 200 grand's worth of equity in the deal, and you're making 1,500 quid a month.
We probably would make more because they haven't, and I'm reviewing this at the moment, because they've never increased any of their rents. So the rents are well below market value. And the thing is, if I put them up straight away, we're hammering everyone £400 odd a month. So that's why So why I'm trying to keep it kind of low at the minute. And then I'm working on, while I'm doing my refinancing, I'm going to only step it up a little bit and make sure that it'll cover everything. Okay, well, that's been nice to the tenants because obviously, it's difficult times for people at the moment with cost of living, inflation, et cetera, et cetera. So I love the fact that you're making sure you're taking care of these people. But if you were to get market rent on top of that £1,500 a month that you'd be receiving in terms of net profit, what's the potential if you was to get full market rent? Probably about 3,800 in rent, roughly.
Yeah. So about another 800 quid in terms of, so you're looking about 2,200 quid a month profit.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the thing is, one had been there sort of 15 years.
Yeah.
And I'd upped the rent and done the AST because they didn't even have an AST or anything. This is the situation. No one could find any paperwork. So we had to I really had to sort out the deposits, the ASTs, because things hadn't been done or couldn't be found. They might have been done, and people said, yeah, I did a deposit, I did this, but no one could find anything. So obviously we had to go through the process of doing it. But at that point, I didn't own it, so I couldn't hack. Could increase the. I couldn't increase them too much. I just increased them sort of like 50 quid, and even that, on a 2-bedroom house, at 950 is still really good because you're not getting that anywhere.
That's,
But I can't do anything with that until sort of November, December time. So
got it. Well, that's fair enough. I mean, at the end of the day, it's nice to know that you've got that scope. So eventually, I mean, it's £2,200 a month income from a portfolio of 3 properties that's wrapped up in a limited company, which is really great to do. So I think that's a fantastic deal. And although we were looking at portfolios and stuff beforehand, you're the first member of our academy who's actually done one of these acquisitions, because it's unusual. It's a hybrid. It's property, but owned in a limited company. But you being you, Maura, like, you're a very determined woman, right? You've also got another deal that you're doing, which has probably come off the back of, well, it's someone that you've been talking about. So you're actually in the process of buying another freehold.
And everyone told me get rid of him. I persevered on.
Yeah, so this was a freeholder that you had a very difficult relationship that was very turbulent with, but you're now in the process of actually buying the freehold of his business, and then you're going to put that into a limited company as well. But that's also going to be another deal that you're going to structure no money down.
Yeah, so with this one, actually, we met this week. We've been talking about it for a little while. He wants to retire. He's got a portfolio of about 22 flats, and we are looking at what way can we structure it. So, and how can I do it that is no money down deal for me. Absolutely. So basically, we're looking at bridging for so much to give him so much up front, and then maybe make, you know, because he's a sole trader currently, what we'll be doing is looking at bringing it into a limited company and maybe making him a shareholder so that we can pay him off over so many years. Absolutely. And that way then it becomes a no money down deal for me, because I don't need then to find a deposit or anything, but the money from the investment will be able to pay him off over so many years.
Absolutely. So what you're going to do then, this is like a part buy now, part buy later. This is how I used to structure these before. So in essence, but if we put this in M&A language, business buying language, you're doing a deferred consideration.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
So you're going to give. So sometimes with a lot of the deals that we look at and some of the deals that we've got in our pipeline right now, we might put 70%, you know, 2/3 of the money up front. Depends on how we finance and how we raise it. And we have a third which we defer. Yeah, that's the third kind of, we'll pay you later, or we'll pay you, you know, later on. If you've got this in a company structure, you give him a third of the shares, or you give him like a, you know, like a loan on the balance sheet or whatever else. That just means that you can make that acquisition without having to go and find 25-30% of the deposit monies that you'd require, which is probably going to be a lot on, you know, 30 odd flats or something, you know, so it's going to be a lot.
In the region of about 2 million, I think.
Yeah. So can you see, it's quite easy when you understand how to structure these deals. Instead of going to find 2 million cash for deposits, by being creative and learning these deferred consideration strategies, it allows you to do bigger deals that sometimes people think they can't do. Now you did it, you got proof of concept, you know that it works. Like, you know, the world is your oyster. What would you say was the biggest takeaway from you from that business buying mastermind workshop that we had that's impacted you now? What would you say the biggest thing was for you?
I think what I've learned over the time is that actually, if you can structure the deal right, you can do any deal, whatever you've got in your bank account, because you don't want to check that. Because I'm always doing things, there's money always coming in and out. So, but you know, I think even if you look at something that's you think's out of your reach, you know, that one originally was up, as I say, I think it was up for about 800,000 or 900,000. And when I first looked at it, and I was like, oh, how am I going to afford that? Where am I going to get? And then once I started to look at, well, hang on, how can I structure it? Do it below market value, do this, you know, and it piece by piece, I was able then to put, you know, the pieces together. I'm looking at other deals now. How can I do it? No money down, but earn, you know, more out of it, or even just the properties out of it. So that's the kind of way I look at it now.
Absolutely. So that's great. So you're still predominantly property, but you have opened your mind out to businesses. I know we've spoken previously about some hotels and some other things that you're looking at, and your partner's obviously got a building company. So, you know, it's great that you are on this path now of doing M&A type transactions and structuring deals in this way. If there's anyone that was watching this video thinking about coming into the academy, what advice would you give to them?
The only person, and when I first met Dave, on my third day, he said, when I said about property investing, he said, what's stopping you? And that is it. What is stopping you? And I think that's the biggest, it's your mindset. So if you think, you know, I can do this, and you've just got to find a way to structure stuff, anything's possible.
Absolutely. And I think that's a beautiful place to leave this, because you know, anything is possible. It is down to mindset. It is believing that you can do this stuff or other people can do it, and having that mindset of, well, if I can do it, this person can do it. If this person can do it, I must be able to do it. It's just a question of how, and just having that desire to go out and learn and do this stuff, because you can make some life-changing money, whether you're doing property type M&A transactions, or even if you're doing M&A business transactions, there's big money to make. So thank you so much for joining us on this interview. I know you've been a super busy lady. I've been trying to catch you for a little while. So it's great to have you on this interview. What's next for you? Tell us what your plans are next. Where's like, you know, the world is your oyster. So where's next for you? What are your plans?
Oh, come on, you know I'm always doing things in the background. Yeah. So as I said, I've been talking about doing that portfolio deal. I've also started looking at a land development in Ireland, and it's 14 properties to build from the ground up. I've been looking at something in the region of doing that. But again, if I didn't do the portfolio, if I didn't change my mindset, I probably wouldn't have thought I can go out and do all of these other things.
And that's amazing. I mean, this is one of the things that we teach in the academy. The big foundational stuff we do is mindset. We're so heavy on mindset, because once you change your beliefs, you change your mindset, anything becomes possible. So you're amazing. You know, I'm really happy that we had that conversation. I'm really glad that you was like, what's he teaching me that for? But you've gone on.
I don't want to learn about buying businesses. I'm here for property.
But you can see you can apply it to property and you can apply it to M&A, which is great. So you're absolutely flying. You're doing amazing. Really happy for you. And thank you so much for coming on this interview.
No worries. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. So there you have it, guys. This is the power of doing these M&A types of transactions on this, what I call a hybrid type of deal, where you can go out and buy property portfolios that are held in limited companies, because not many people know how to do these kinds of deals. So if you want to go learn more about this stuff, look below this video. There's going to be some links below where you can either go and join our academy. There's our online course, which is a new course that we've just released. We've also got the M&A masterclass, which you can go and watch, which is a 60-minute video that gives you the ins and outs, the A to Z of what you need to do to be able to go out there, buy businesses, build a property portfolio as well alongside if you want to, and be able to build your wealth. So all you need to do is look below this video, look for those links. Remember to like and subscribe, put your questions and comments below. I hope you found this video really, really useful. So go put this stuff out into practice, go build your wealth and live your best life. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye for now.